You've been quiet for too long. You've taken the hits, stayed humble and kept your peace while they laughed behind your back. They thought they got away with it. They thought your silence meant weakness. But what they didn't know is that God was watching the whole time. He saw every insult. He heard every lie. He counted every tear. And now heaven has spoken. This is the moment where everything turns around. This is where the bullied become bold, where the quiet ones rise, and where the chosen ones take their place. Because when God says enough, no one can stop what comes next. They tried to break you, but they built you instead. They tried to shame you, but they only revealed your strength. And now, the same people who once laughed at your pain are about to witness your elevation. So listen carefully, because in this message you shall know exactly why no one will ever bully you again. The first sign that God has said enough is that the people who once stood with your enemies are beginning to turn away. When you were going through your lowest moments, it felt like everyone was against you. People who knew your heart still chose to believe the lies. They joined the crowd because it was easier to mock you than to understand you. But now, the atmosphere is shifting. Those same voices that once laughed at you are going silent. The same people who turned their backs are now realizing who you truly are. They're beginning to see the truth behind the mask your enemies wore. It's depths, not coincidence. This is divine exposure. God is removing their support system piece by piece. He's opening eyes, softening hearts, and bringing revelation. When God defends His chosen, He doesn't need you to explain yourself. He simply lets truth speak louder than rumor, and the very ones who help tear you down will soon be the ones saying your name with respect. The second sign is the deep peace that has started to surround you. Before, their words cut deep. You lost sleep replaying their actions, wondering what you did wrong. But now, it doesn't sting the same way. You hear the noise, but it no longer shakes your spirit. That sips not indifference, it sips healing. That calm you feel is a shield God placed around you. You're no longer fighting in your flesh, you're resting in your faith. This peace isn't weakness, it's a sign that heaven is working in silence. You're learning that not every battle requires your reaction. Some victories come from stillness, from choosing to stay quiet while God moves. You're no longer trying to prove yourself, because your peace has become your proof. The same storms that used to overwhelm you now pass by without touching your heart. That sips how you know you're protected. When chaos rises and you stay calm, it's because your spirit knows God already won the battle. The third sign is that their lies can no longer survive in the light of truth. For a while it felt like the false stories were louder than your silence. They painted you as the problem, and people believed them. But lies always have an expiration date. Now, things are starting to surface. Secrets are slipping out in conversations. People are connecting the dots and realizing the patterns. The truth is rising piece by piece, like sunlight breaking through a storm. God doesn't rush justice, but He never forgets it either. Every time they used your name to build their image, they dug their own pit. Now that pit is being revealed for everyone to see. What sips happening isn't it karma, it sips correction. God is bringing balance back to your story. He's allowing the same world that misunderstood you to finally understand the truth. And soon those who believed the lies will have no choice but to admit they were wrong about you. The fourth sign that God has said enough is that you are being elevated in silence. For a long time it felt like you were invisible. You were putting in effort, showing up, trying to do right, but no one seemed to notice. You watched others, some who lied, cheated, or manipulated, move ahead while you were left behind. You started to wonder, did God forget me? But what you didn't realize was that the silence was your preparation season. When God elevates a chosen one, He often hides them first. He allows you to walk through loneliness so you can learn what peace feels like, without noise. He allows you to be overlooked so your character can grow without pride. He lets them underestimate you so that when He finally lifts you up, they won't be able to take credit for your rise. Your isolation was never rejection. It was construction. God was building something in you that couldn't be rushed. He was teaching you to rely on His approval, not theirs. And now that the season of hiding is ending, He's beginning to reveal you in ways no one can ignore. The same people who dismissed you will start to wonder how you suddenly became unshakable. They still say, "When did they change? When did they get this strong?" What they don't know is that you were always strong. You just stopped wasting energy trying to prove it. That sips the power of elevation in silence. You don't need to announce your growth. It speaks for itself. You've stopped explaining. You've stopped begging to be understood. You've stopped trying to sit at tables that were never built for you. Instead, you steer building your own. You steer learning that quiet work is sacred work. The success that's coming to you doesn't need to be broadcasted because it's not meant for validation. It's meant for confirmation. It's confirmation that God's promises were real all along. There will come a moment soon where everything you went through starts to make sense. Every tear, every sleepless night, every silent prayer, it's all been adding up to this point. Because when God decides to elevate you, there's no force on earth that can hold you down. The same people who used to whisper about you will now have to watch you rise without understanding how. And here's the most powerful part: your elevation isn't revenge, it's revelation. It's God revealing what was hidden, proving that His hand has been on you the whole time. It's not about showing off. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about showing the world what happens when someone refuses to break, even when everything around them says they should. You didn't need to fight for a spotlight. You didn't need to shout your worth. You stayed faithful, you kept your peace, and you trusted the process. Now God is preparing to open doors that no human could ever shut. He's about to take what was private, your pain, your growth, your discipline, and make it public. Not for fame, but for impact. You are stepping into a season where your results will speak louder than your words ever could. You'll notice how the energy around you begins to shift. Opportunities will start finding you. Connections you didn't chase will appear. People who once ignored you will suddenly want to know your secret. But you still smile because you still know the truth. It wasn't set luck. It wasn't set coincidence. It was God's timing. He hid you so no one could interfere. He trained you in silence so no one could take the credit. And now, your elevation will be so undeniable that it won't even need explanation. The world will see your peace, your growth, your strength. And they still realize that what was meant to destroy you was actually what prepared you. So don't be surprised when God starts lifting you higher without warning. You earned this through endurance. You earned this through faith. You earned this through silence. Because when God says enough, He doesn't just stop the bullying. He rebuilds you in such a way that no one can ever break you again. The fifth sign that God has said enough is that the bully, the one who tried to control, manipulate, and humiliate you, is losing power. For a long time it felt like they were untouchable. Everywhere you turned, their influence lingered. They always had something to say, always found a way to twist things in their favor. You wondered why everyone believed them. You wondered how they could lie so easily and still be praised for it. But what you didn't see was what was happening behind the scenes. God was watching, quietly, patiently, and precisely. He allowed them to rise for a moment, not because he favored them, but because he was allowing their pride to reach its full height. So when they fell, it would be clear to everyone who truly held the power. You see, bullies feed on fear. They survive by controlling the narrative, by convincing others that they're the strong ones and you're the weak one. They depend on attention, on reaction, on you shrinking yourself just to avoid confrontation. But now, the tables are turning. Their power is fading because their source, your energy, is gone. You no longer react. You no longer explain. You no longer play their game. And without your response, they have nothing to feed on. That silence that once felt painful is now your greatest weapon. Because when you stop defending yourself, heaven starts defending you. And that's exactly what's happening now. They can sense the shift even if they don't understand it. Things that used to go their way are suddenly falling apart. Plans that used to succeed are collapsing. Their words no longer carry weight. People are starting to see through them. That's the power of divine justice. It doesn't always strike loud, but it strikes deep. God begins to dismantle everything they built on lies, piece by piece. He lets their own actions reveal who they really are. He lets the truth do what you never could. And the bully begins to crumble, not because you cursed them, but because they cursed themselves. Every time they mocked you, they planted seeds of destruction in their own soil. Every time they tried to humiliate you, they invited humiliation into their own future. You didn't have to lift a finger. Heaven did it for you. Now they're uneasy. They can feel the loss of control. Their circle is shrinking. Their influence is slipping. They used to walk into a room and everyone listened. Now no one takes them seriously. People who once supported them are pulling away, whispering things like, "Something feels off about them." That's not coincidence. It's exposure. When God removes his hand of grace from someone who abuses their power, everything they touch begins to fail. They lose favor, opportunities dry up, and the same manipulation they used on others begins to turn back on them. It's not punishment, it's divine correction. God isn't destroying them, he's dismantling the illusion they built. And here sits the most powerful part. You stir not even celebrating their fall. You matured past that. You don't just want revenge, you want peace. You've learned that their downfall doesn't make you better, it just proves that God never forgot what they did. The bully's power is gone because God has restored your strength. They can reach you the same way anymore. Their words bounce off your spirit like arrows hitting a shield. You've grown beyond their level, spiritually and mentally. You've stepped into a place they can no longer access. You are no longer their target, you're their reminder. A reminder of the person they could have been if they chose humility instead of pride. A reminder that grace protected you even when you were silent. A reminder that God always defends his own. And that's why their presence no longer affects you. The fear is gone. The anxiety is gone. You've reclaimed your power, and in doing so you've stripped them of theirs. The very thing they used to control you, their voice, their influence, their intimidation, no longer holds weight. Because the truth is simple. When God says enough, he doesn't just silence the bully, he exposes the spirit behind them. He cuts the strings of manipulation. He breaks the power of fear. He reminds everyone that he alone is in control. So if you've noticed lately that your enemies are quieter, that their plans aren't working, that their confidence seems shaken, don't doubt what's happening. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's justice. Heaven sets justice. The bully is losing power because you finally learned who you are. And once a chosen one remembers their identity, no voice, no weapon, and no enemy can stand against them. Their time of dominance is over. Yours has just begun. The sixth sign that God has said enough is that new people, divinely sent, purpose-aligned, and spiritually awake, are beginning to enter your life. For a long time, it felt like you had no one. You were surrounded by people, but you were still alone. The ones you loved didn't understand you. The ones you helped were often the ones who hurt you the most. You gave and gave until there was nothing left, and when you finally needed support, all you heard was silence. That silence was painful, but it wasn't punishment, it was pruning. God wasn't allowing you to be abandoned, He was clearing space. Because what you thought was rejection was actually divine redirection. He was removing counterfeit connections so He could make room for the real ones. Every time someone walked away, you thought you lost something. But now you're realizing you were actually being protected. Some people couldn't go where you were going. Some hearts couldn't handle the version of you that was about to emerge. And so, God started disconnecting you from everything and everyone that would have drained your next season. The loneliness you felt was a divine transition. It wasn't meant to break you, it was meant to refine you. Because before God can send new people into your life, He has to make sure you're no longer clinging to the wrong ones. He has to teach you how to value peace over company, authenticity over approval, discernment over popularity. And now, because you've passed that test, He's sending replacements, people who match your energy, respect your boundaries, and recognize your worth. They might not show up in grand, dramatic ways. Some will appear quietly, like whispers of hope. A kind stranger who speaks life into you when you least expect it. A friend who listens without judgment. A mentor who sees your potential before you even believe in it yourself. These are not coincidences. These are divine appointments. Each person entering your life in this season carries something sacred, a lesson, a blessing, or a confirmation. They're part of the restoration that follows your season of loss. You still notice these people feel different. They bring peace, not pressure. They speak life, not gossip. They don't compete with you, they celebrate you. You don't have to pretend around them because their spirit recognizes yours. It feels like you've known them forever, even if you just met. That's how divine alignment works. The old version of you attracted people who needed your light but had no intention of protecting it. The healed version of you attracts people who carry light of their own. These new connections won't drain you, they'll pour back into you. They'll pray for you, not prey on you. They still remind you of your value when you forget. They still stand beside you when life gets heavy. And here sits the most powerful truth. These people are not coming to fix you, they're coming to walk with you. They're not here because you're broken, they're here because you're ready. God is rebuilding your circle with intention. He's surrounding you with those who carry the same spiritual frequency, the same calling, the same purpose-driven fire. This is divine alignment at its purest form. You once did have to force these relationships. You once did have to chase, convince, or compromise. The connection will feel natural, mutual, and peaceful. Because when something is from God, it doesn't drain you, it develops you. Some of these people will help you grow spiritually. Others will help you expand mentally, creatively, financially. Every one of them will serve as a mirror of the new season you're stepping into. They will reflect your healed self back to you. But remember this: before the new arrives, the old often tries to return. You may notice past people reaching out, suddenly wanting to reconnect, pretending they've changed. That's not random, it's a test. It starts the final check before elevation. Don't go back to what God delivered you from. If they walked away during your pain, they don't deserve access to your peace. If they couldn't handle your brokenness, they don't get to enjoy your breakthrough. So be discerning in this new season. Not everyone who knocks deserves entry. But when you feel that undeniable peace, that sense of alignment and clarity, that's how you'll know the connection is divine. God's blessings never come with confusion. Soon you'll look around and realize you're no longer walking alone. You'll see people who pray for you, believe in you, and walk beside you, not because they need something from you, but because they were sent to you. This is God's way of restoring what was stolen: community, love, and trust. The same heart that once felt abandoned is about to feel surrounded. The same soul that once cried alone will now find strength in unity. Because when God says enough, He doesn't just remove the wrong people. He replaces them with the right ones. People who lift you higher. People who speak life into your destiny. People who remind you that being chosen was never meant to be lonely, it was just meant to be purified. And now, purified and protected, you set ready. Ready for new connections. Ready for divine alignment. Ready for the circle heaven chose for you. This time, you won't have to question their loyalty. This time, you won't have to earn their love. This time you shall know they were sent by God. The sixth sign that God has said enough is that new people are quietly stepping into your path. They are not random. They are assignments, souls sent to restore what was broken in you. For a long season you walked alone. You gave love, loyalty, and patience to people who only took advantage of your light. You begged for understanding in rooms where your spirit was never meant to fit. When you needed comfort, you were met with silence. It felt like isolation, but it was actually divine separation. God was removing everything and everyone that could not travel where He was taking you. He saw the way certain people drained your peace while pretending to care. He heard conversations you never heard. So one by one, He allowed relationships to fade, not to punish you but to protect you. What you called abandonment, heaven called pruning. Every goodbye was making space for something real. You learned the difference between being popular and being at peace. You learned that not everyone with kind words has a kind heart. You learned that solitude is sacred when it's shared with God. That lesson was necessary, because before God can send the right people, He must teach you to stand strong without any. Now that lesson is complete. The shift begins. The loneliness that once felt endless is giving way to quiet arrivals, new voices, new faces, new energy. They won't come with noise or promises. They will come with calm. A stranger who encourages you at the perfect moment. A friend who listens without judgment. Someone whose presence feels familiar, though you just met. These are divine appointments. Each one carries something heaven wants you to receive: wisdom, support, confirmation, or simply peace. You will notice how different it feels. The conversations won't drain you, they'll feed you. You won't have to shrink to be understood. You'll recognize them by the fruit they carry: honesty, humility, faith. Around them you will breathe deeper. You will feel seen without performing. That is what it feels like when a connection is sent, not forced. Understand this: the old version of you attracted people who needed your light, but never intended to protect it. The healed version of you attracts people who bring their own light and honor yours. These new connections will not compete with you, they will celebrate you. They will pray for you in private and defend you in public. They will remind you of your purpose when you forget. And when you succeed, they will not feel threatened. They will feel proud. This new circle is part of your elevation. God is rebuilding your community with precision. Some will help you grow spiritually. Others will help you expand mentally, creatively, or financially. Each one mirrors the strength you've developed in isolation. Through them, God is showing you that love still exists, loyalty still matters, and kindness is still powerful. But be wise. When the new begins to form, the old will try to return. People who once ignored you may reappear with soft apologies or sudden interest. Do not confuse curiosity with conviction. Some only return because they sense your glow returning. God will test your discernment. He wants to see if you will reopen doors He has already closed. Remember what peace felt like when they were gone. Protect it. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to the healed version of you. Guard your energy, but stay open to the genuine. You will know the difference because confusion never comes from God. What is meant for you will arrive with clarity, stability, and peace. Soon you will look around and realize you are no longer walking alone. Where once there was silence, there is laughter. Where there was doubt, there is support. Where your heart felt heavy, it now feels held. These are your replacements for every betrayal, divine friendships, soul allies, and purpose partners. God promised restoration, and this is what it looks like. He is surrounding you with people who will help carry the vision He placed inside you. They will not dim your light. They will reflect it. They will not use your story. They will honor it. Through them you will understand that being chosen was never meant to isolate you forever. It was meant to prepare you for real connection. This time you won't have to chase love. You won't have to beg to be understood. You won't have to lower your standards to keep someone close. Every bond in this new season will be rooted in truth, respect, and purpose. The same God who said enough to your pain is now saying now to your people. And when they arrive, you will feel it, not in your head, but in your spirit. Peace will confirm it. Because when heaven sends them, you won't need proof. Their presence will be proof enough. The final sign that God has said enough is that you are finally walking in confidence, not arrogance, not pride, but divine assurance. You are no longer begging for acceptance. You are no longer explaining yourself to people who never cared to understand you. You have stopped shrinking to make others comfortable, and for the first time in your life, you feel free. That freedom you feel, that peace that doesn't make sense, that's the reward of endurance. That's what it feels like when a chosen one finally remembers who they are. You've been through storms that should have broken you. You've cried tears that no one saw. You've questioned your worth, doubted your purpose, and wondered if God forgot about you. But He didn't. He was shaping you in silence. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every lonely night. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You see, confidence isn't something you just wake up with. It's something that's built through pain, loss, and endurance. God had to take away everything you leaned on, people, comfort, approval, so that your only foundation would be Him. That's why your old version couldn't stay. The timid, fearful, uncertain version of you had to die, so the chosen version could rise. And now, that version is walking the earth, strong, grounded, and unbothered. You carry yourself differently. You speak differently. You move differently. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you finally believe what God said about you. You've learned that being humble doesn't mean being silent. It means knowing your power and using it wisely. You've learned that setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You've learned that walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. The same people who once called you too sensitive, too serious, or too different can't reach you anymore. Because while they were mocking you, you were transforming. While they were gossiping, you were growing. While they were trying to break you, God was building you. This new confidence doesn't shout, it shines. It doesn't need validation. It walks in revelation. It's not based on what you wear, what you own, or who praises you. It's built on knowing that even at your lowest, God still called you His. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer explain, you embody. You no longer fear rejection, you recognize redirection. The same situations that once triggered you now test your strength. The same words that once wounded you now roll off your back. Because you've seen too much of God's faithfulness to ever doubt yourself again. And here's what's happening in the spirit. Your confidence intimidates the insecure. People who once controlled you with guilt or fear are losing their grip. The bully, the manipulator, the narcissist. They don't know how to handle this version of you because you're no longer accessible through pain. You're protected by purpose. Every time you walk into a room now, you carry an energy that can't be faked. People feel it before you speak, that quiet authority that comes from surviving what others couldn't. You no longer move from anxiety, you move from alignment. And the most powerful part? You don't even need to prove yourself anymore. You've let go of the need to convince people you've changed. You've realized that your fruit speaks louder than your words. Your peace, your glow, your discipline, that's the proof. This is what divine confidence looks like. It's not about being loud, it's about being sure, sure of your worth, sure of your calling, sure that everything you lost was replaced with something greater. You've come to understand that confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite it. You still get nervous, you still question yourself at times, but now you don't stay there. You've learned to push through doubt with faith. Yusep stopped asking, "Why me?" and started saying, "Try me." Because now you know what you carry. You know what you've overcome. You know that every time life knocked you down, you got up stronger. You've learned to trust your intuition, that inner voice that sounds like peace. You've learned to say no without guilt, and yes without fear. You've learned that not everyone deserves access to your energy, and not every battle deserves your reaction. You've learned that confidence in God is the ultimate armor, because when you walk in divine confidence, no insult can shake you, no delay can break you, and no enemy can stop you. This is your new season, not of survival, but of stability. Not of running, but of resting in who you've become. Not of trying to prove your worth, but of walking in it effortlessly. You are no longer the person they hurt. You are no longer the person who doubted. You are no longer the person who questioned if you were chosen. You are the proof that pain can become purpose, that rejection can lead to redirection, and that faith can rewrite any story. So walk boldly now. Lift your head high. Because when God said enough, He didn't just silence your enemies. He awakened your power. He reminded you who you are. And He made sure that the confidence you now carry would never depend on man's approval again. You're walking differently because you are different. Chosen, favored, protected. And finally, free. You've been through the fire, but you didn't burn. You were pushed to your limits, but you didn't break. And now you understand why. God was never punishing you. He was preparing you. Every person who lied on your name, every door that closed, every season that felt unfair, it was all shaping you into the version of yourself that stands here today, strong, confident, and untouchable. The same people who once tried to silence you will now have to watch you rise. Because you don't need their approval anymore, you've got God's. You don't need their support, you've got divine backing. So from this day forward, walk boldly. You don't have to fear what sits coming next. The battle is over, the lesson is complete, and the blessing has already begun. Remember this, no one can bully what God has built. No one can break what heaven has healed, and no one can stop what sits already been anointed. You are chosen, you are covered, and you are finally free.